If you want Colts talk all year long, you're in the right place.
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown. He's going to fire upfield. It's broken up. Tipped and intercepted by the Colts.
This is the official Colts podcast, giving you an updated look at what's new with the Horseshoes.
Colts have it. Interception. 2 seconds left, and the Colts are going to win.
In the Indiana Union Construction Industry radio studio, let's get the podcast started.
Welcome in to the official Colts podcast. My name is Jeffrey Gorman, joined over here by JJ Stankevitz and over here by Miss Larra Overton. And it's that time of year. We know what time of year it is, right? Right?
Are you doing
Super Bowl?
Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No,
that is.
it's not that time of year. No.
It's Valentine's Day.
That's coming
by
up,
the way.
too. That's coming
Your
up,
word's
too.
about a week away.
February
so,
14th.
be sure
it's
to
awards.
take care of your loved ones.
Awards. Award season.
yeah, it is.
You got Tonys, then there's Grammys.
NFL honors.
There's Oscars. It's NFL honors. It's on Thursday. I mean, it is award season, so that's what we're going to do tonight with the help of you guys, is give out some awards on this Colts team.
Love it.
But I have a question for you.
Do we have any statuettes?
We should have had statuettes.
Here's the best I can do to a statuette. You ready? Sorry about this, Sherry, but we got to adapt, all right?
Look at that. You got it queued up.
You know what that is, right? That's awards themed music.
You had a lengthy career.
And
Yeah.
fade out.
How many
And-
Grammys have
and
you been to?
fade
Yeah.
out. I've never been to an Oscars or a Grammys or anything like that because I was told early on that it's a long day. Unless you're up for something, it's a long, long day. A guy, I just was at the Grammys, a guy that I happen to know who won for the soundtrack of Barbies. His name is George Drakoulias. He's a music producer, part of that Barbie soundtrack. He goes, love getting it, but the lead up for it and the afterwards and getting in and getting out, he's like, it's a 10-hour day to go to the award ceremony.
But worth it, I would imagine.
Yeah, but worth it, I'd imagine. But I've never been to one of those before.
How much do seat fillers make?
That's a
at the
great
Grammys?
question. I would think a couple $100 at least.
Yeah.
At least.
You get paid because if you get paid hourly,
I've seen.
$20 an hour for a 10-hour day.
Larra had mentioned NFL honors. They have seat fillers at the NFL honors because all those players are coming up and stuff like that, and they got seat fillers. Maybe that's what we should do as a show.
Yeah.
You know, Larra, JJ, and Jeffrey, and just see where they're sitting at award shows.
A friend of mine actually was just a seat filler at a WWE event in St. Louis last night.
I'm actually surprised that they don't just sell that thing out, that there's even a need for seat
Wait.
fillers, you know?
Was it a wrestling match?
Yeah.
Why they
It wasn't like, the big one. I don't know. But it was a
They didn't
WWE
sell a lot of
event.
tickets or...
Oh, yeah. I guess they just needed some people to show up and be seat
Come
fillers.
on in, be
Yeah.
seat fillers. Hey, but my thing was, it is award season. Have you ever hosted anything like, through your career, hosted an awards ceremony? And let's say maybe away from the Colts, Gridiron Hall.
Okay, so 2 years ago, I did host the regional Great Lakes Emmy Awards that were at the Lucas Estate.
Oh, yeah, very.
So I did host that, which is like the regional Emmy Awards, not like the big national Emmy Awards, but it was an absolute blast, so much fun. But back in my Louisville days, I would do some red carpet hosting during Derby.
Oh, nice.
Which was a blast.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
And you got all dialed up with the hat and everything?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah, I love a big hat moment. So,
Right.
yeah, it was great.
Okay.
And it was like, there's so many people, like, people were lovely, by the way. They were just, like, so nice. Like, everyone's in such a good mood. And, like, I feel like everyone, even those who are, like, coming in, the celebrities who are coming in, like, it's infectious, that, like, Southern hospitality. So everyone's just very kind. And it was fun. And everyone's in a good mood because it's the Derby.
Sure.
And they're going up bet on horses. And there's mint juleps and great ostentatious hats and whatnot.
Hey,
so.
speaking of horses, Toby Keith is dead.
I know. Very sad day.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Toby Keith.
What is it?
Well, horses, he would say, whiskey for my men, beer for my horses.
Yeah.
He's 60-something years old, Toby Keith. The news just came in today, so I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought, when you said horses, it was
Stomach
something we
cancer.
were reminded of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Well, let's get into better times on that. Sorry about that to the family and estate of Toby Keith. We're with you. Great entertainer, and I know he did a lot here in Indiana, especially in the summer through the years. Ever seen him?
He would be out there.
No.
He would go out to Deer Creek, which it's like 9 names from that now. But, we always do that summer concert tour up there with, like, the country series. And
Have you been to Ruoff yet?
Fun show.
Yes, this is where I land on it. I've been to Ruoff once.
Okay.
And I saw Too Short, Warren G, Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa.
Nice.
love
It's a great show.
How was
What
it?
a
It was
lineup.
awesome.
Where did you sit out there?
Just on the grass.
Nice. So
Yeah.
you threw down
Yeah.
whatever, a blanket or
Yeah.
a chair, and okay,
That's
great.
Threw
the way
down
to
a
do it.
blanket. It was
And
a
you've
great
been
time.
there 100 times, right?
Many times. Yeah.
I know
Been
you've been
there
here
a
about 4 or
bunch.
5 years now, so that's why I asked
Yeah,
on the
that's
Raw thing.
that's the show I've been
Award
to. Yeah.
show season again. Have you ever hosted anything like that where you're giving
Nope.
away awards?
Nope. Sounds fun, though.
Does, right?
Yeah.
Tough as hell. That's why I'm bringing it up. Tough as hell. You did those awards over at the estate, right? You
Yeah,
did over at the
the
Lucas
Emmy
estate?
Awards, yeah.
Tough as hell.
It
I mean,
is.
seriously.
It is because there's
let
a
alone a network television thing with these hosts. That's what I
'cause
wanted
there's
to
a lot
get
of
into.
names, and you want
Oy.
to be sure. And it's such a big moment, so you want to be sure you get names correct
Right.
and all these different things. And you also, one of the really important things is you want to be sure that you keep your enthusiasm level consistent throughout the entire thing. So like you want to come out strong, but then you can't do too much where you trail off at the back end because you usually hold the bigger awards on the back half, and you want to be sure that those people are still getting the same level of excitement. Plus, I wanted to be fair where there were people who were nominated from across central Indiana who I knew well, but then it was also people from other markets as well. So you don't want to show any favoritism to anyone either.
Right. No,
But
those are fun. I'm
Tough
just saying.
to be mad when you get all dressed up.
For
I had
sure.
this gold gown that I really love that I'm trying to find an excuse to wear again. So I might just walk in on a Wednesday with this dress just to have an excuse.
Did you do any of the Grammys the other night?
No.
Grammy Awards?
I was too tired from going to the monster truck show.
Okay, yeah, you
Yeah.
did say that. You brought your
Brought my kids.
kids loved it, right?
Oh, that was incredible.
I knew another guy who brought his kids to that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Anybody flip? Everybody? I mean,
Oh, dude, there were flips. There were crashes. They had to bring their special front loader out with these hooks to flip the monster trucks.
so it was cool. Kids loved it, right?
Kids loved it, and I drank a beer at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Really?
That was a great experience.
Yeah.
Really?
For everyone out there who gets to do that every Sunday, bravo! What a
savory.
lovely time.
Yeah.
You could actually get away with it if you wanted it up there in your own booth, but I know you got to be on point.
Nah, look, I mean, let's be honest. Greg Rakestraw is gonna.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Had a beer. First of all, let's back up a little.
Greg wouldn't do that, by the way, but I wouldn't.
Had a beer. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, one beer,
Hey, JJ.
2 beers.
Okay, here we go.
I was with my kids.
Had to get it out.
2
No,
bears.
2 beers.
Two
kids,
light beers.
That a boy.
Over
Good time,
2
right?
hours. It was a great time.
And you would never go with Tucker to go watch a big truck pull, would you?
Sure,
It'd be
I
fun,
would.
right,
Yeah,
right.
I mean, yeah.
I did that once back in the day.
Did you? Yeah, I
just-
would go.
I did it once back in the day. We went and saw the truck pull.
I
down
would
at
go
Lucas.
for sure, but it seems like anytime, often if I show up to those things thinking I'm just going to enjoy it, it's like, oh, hey, you get roped into doing something.
Yeah,
oh, by
right.
the way, I don't know.
Oh,
I would do it though.
That reminds me of something, guys. Do we have any ins for this NBA All-Star game? I know
None.
you do. Come
None.
on.
Not
Seriously.
not a bit.
Overton,
Not a
come
single
on.
one.
No, you're Miss NBA. You worked for the Pacers for years. Now, come on, darn
But
it.
here's what's different, though, is yes, the Pacers are hosting and Indianapolis is hosting, but it's still a league event. So, a lot of the credentialing and all of your networking all comes through, league contacts, really. And I've kind of been out of that game for so long.
have. I'll give you that.
But I did see that Lil Wayne is performing, so I am intrigued. I want to try
Did
to
you
find
see
a
the
way
floor?
I was just about to bring up the court because they're doing that at Lucas Oil Stadium,
Yeah,
right?
which is great. I just found out about that.
Here's the future of the NFL as I envision it: is you have the LED field,
Right.
There's a chip in the ball, and the chip will maybe there's some sort of sensor that senses when a player is down.
Yeah.
And then right there, bam, on the field, you get to see a line where the ball is. Did it cross the yellow line for a first down
We're
or the
getting
goal
there,
line
aren't
for
we?
a touchdown?
We're getting there, aren't we?
Technology could be out there. We'll see.
I know. We are getting there.
I
Anyway.
just solved spotting issues, by the way.
Hey, by the way, NBA All-Star Game coming right here to Indianapolis.
It's gonna be an exciting time.
Lucas
I'm
Oil
thrilled.
Stadium hosts the Saturday, all the three-point contest, dunk contest.
The
Saturday,
activities and
that's
the-
Saturday evening, and then into Sunday, obviously, the game over at Gamebridge.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. Hats off to the Pacers and the NBA. We'll talk about more of that next week. But let's get back to award season. Here's what we're thinking today, all right? JJ, I'm going to start with you. Great idea on this. We're going to hand out some awards for this roster. Not the NFL, but for the Colts roster. And the first category is today, our first award that we're giving off, and I want to give this like I'm the first presenter if I could, is Best New Artist. And what we're going to do is talk about who is the top rookie or 2023 newcomer. JJ Stankevitz, there are 2 winners in this, really, because I'm going to put this towards you guys, but I'll sprinkle in my little opinions here and there.
yeah.
So I'm going to start with you on this. Best new artist, top rookie or newcomer.
That was
And
me.
the winner?
I had a piece of paper. My winner is Samson Ebukam.
Samson
That's
Ebukam.
Coming in
okay.
as a newcomer, 9.5 sacks, 10 TFLs, 17 quarterback hits, 3 forced fumbles. He started all 17 games. and was not only a really good pass rusher, he was good against the run, a guy who you could count on to play a pretty good amount of snaps at defensive end. But more than anything, what I appreciated about Samson Ebukam is he's on his third team, and this is his first real chance to kind of be one of the guys. Like when he was in LA, he was a rookie. Then he goes to San Francisco, he's opposite Nick Bosa. Now here, he's paid to be one of the guys on that defensive line, and he goes out and he rewards the Colts for giving him a pretty hefty contract in free agency with the best season of his career by like several factors.
And
so Samson Ebukam is my winner. Right
nice
there.
one. Great award. Great by you to point him out because he was imperative as far as this season. Obviously, the sack record, he had a big part of that. Top rookie, top newcomer, Miss Larra Overton.
Okay. I went with a player ultimately, but I think the argument could have been made for Shane. In this
That's
case.
where I was going.
That's so
Good call.
I think that could be.
Yes.
But I was like, I think we're kind of. I thought when JJ orchestrated our little playlist here, if you will, that it was thinking more player centric. So I would say if we're going all encompassing, it's Shane. But my newcomer is going to be Gardner Minshew. I mean, the value that he brought to this team, the number of games that you won with him. I mean, best season of his career in a lot of aspects. The position that he put this offense in week and week out, the way that guys rose up, leveled up to playing alongside him, kind of that steadying force that he brought to the offense in so many critical situations, especially like think about the overtime win in Baltimore, overtime against the Titans, the Pittsburgh game, just so many different situations that you come back to. Gardner was imperative and integral in making sure that you had an opportunity to win games once you lost Anthony Richardson. And I mean, what better season league-wide to illustrate the value of having a suitable backup quarterback than what we just saw. Gardner's going to be mine.
Great call.
So,
and the value you talk about, most valuable, we talked about it last year at podcast this time. That guy was so critical and valuable to this team in OTAs.
Oh, yeah.
Before the star, number 4 overall pick, Anthony Richardson, he was valuable there. Then Richardson goes down. He's valuable there. Hey, we're going. Gardner, come on in. We need you. Like, great call on that one. I'm going to go with, I went with Steichen on that one.
Yeah.
I went with Steichen. I figured, what he's doing and setting the league ablaze and setting records with points and everything.
Also,
so
how good of a position to be in that we all had 3 different takes, 3 different arguments, all very strong ones, and there's still plenty of people that you could
Not
discuss.
one of us picked Josh Downs.
You could have picked Josh Downs.
It's a rookie setting records.
So that's what a great indication of the trajectory that this team is going to be on building in 2024.
Ooh, I like this one. Best solo performance, best individual game, and I'm going to start with you, Larra Overton. There's a couple that come off the top of my head, and I think we're going to cross awards here a little bit, but I'm going to start with you. What do you think?
Okay. I looked at this yesterday. Bear with me.
Okay.
One of them is Anthony Richardson against the Rams.
Nice.
The performance to rally this team from being down 23-0 at halftime, force overtime with consecutive fourth-quarter touchdowns, gave you every opportunity to win. You just essentially got outlasted, by Matthew Stafford and a Rams team that went to the playoffs. I thought that performance, particularly, you could isolate just that second half, showed you everything that you hoped to see about Anthony Richardson. So that was to me, that was one of the best performances because of what it tells you about the future of Anthony as a player. And the touchdowns and the plays that he made and all of that, but it's also the poise that he had. We heard so much from this offense about, he's so much poise in the pocket, this and that. And that's where you really saw it put on display. So that was one of those to me that I think is kind of easy to forget about because you ultimately didn't win that game, and it would, and Anthony's season would would end there shortly after. But I just thought that was really, really important in terms of your confidence and your outlook building forward. I'm going to go to Zach Moss at Baltimore. 30 carries, 122 yards. He had a receiving touchdown in that game. You did not win that football game without Zach Moss. 30 carries against the Baltimore Ravens
Wore him down,
defense.
yeah.
Unbelievable. And this is a guy who signed to the roster expecting to be the backup to Jonathan Taylor. He gets hurt in training camp. That's only his second game, I think, of the season, coming off of the broken arm. What a warrior of a human that guy is. And so I think that was one. I mean, I think to me, that was one of the most exciting victories of the entire year. I think being there too, just the feeling that was on field, the way it ended with Matt Gay and the walk-off field goal. But I just thought that the way that you were able to establish the run game, thanks to the support of your offensive line as well. And you knew you were going to have to do that because you had Gardner in there filling in for Anthony when he was going through protocol. So I thought that the way the offensive line elevated, the performance from Zach Moss, to me, that's one of those that strongest made the argument that Zach Moss should get consideration to be RB1 for a team in 2024.
Right.
Jeffrey, who do you have here?
I have, from that game, I have Matt Gay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For record setting with 5
unbelievable.
field goals. With the second, I like to dabble in a second. I won't be long on it. Is Gardner against that Titans team second time against the Titans
At Nashville.
Just the way that he did that, the way that Gardner played that game, the second one to win in overtime and throw 26 of 42, I know, and stuff like that. But 2 TDs, it was a huge win. It was a well-needed win for this organization to keep, the sails afloat, going, hey, we're going to go. But that was it. It's kind of a tie between those two. But Matt Gay setting an all-time NFL record, winning the thing with a field goal from over 50. That's
You know what I love about this is there's no overlap because I have 2 that I was considering. I was considering Zach Moss against Tennessee, the first Tennessee game. 23 for 165, 2 touchdowns, 7.2 yards per carry.
Ooh.
The Titans last season finished 7th in yards per carry allowed at 3.8. He eclipsed that by almost 4 yards.
And that was when he had that huge run, too.
Yeah,
that,
he broke off the 59-yard or whatever
yeah.
it was against a Titans defense that doesn't allow that.
One of my favorite visuals from the whole season is when you see Zach is
He's
just
looking back.
and he glances up
Yeah.
at the video board to
yeah.
gauge, is anybody in pursuit?
Yep.
He had one of the best comments after that. I asked him about the speed that he reached on that run, and he was like, I know I'm not the fastest guy, but he's like, it was pretty cool to see that. And he said that, friends of his would joke, they would show Anthony's runs. And he's like, no, see, that is actually the fastest guy on the field, at all times. So, and then I'm happy to be second.
My winner was Kenny Moore against the Panthers.
Okay.
Oh,
2 pick sixes.
Double up.
I don't need to make any more of a case.
Such a
he had
great
2
call.
pick sixes
Great
in
game.
that game. Colts record. Single-handedly won the Colts that game. For me, it's Kenny against
Great
With
call.
his sisters in the stands,
Yep.
that
Great
story.
call.
He
Yeah.
gets in the end zone. He points yes. Oh,
Yeah.
that was epic.
Best-
And Zaire was out that game.
He was.
And we have a moment where after, I don't know if it was the first or the second, but he goes up to Kenny and just that perfectly Zaire goes, you're special. It was just it got me
Good
so
call.
Yeah.
so fired up. What a fun game. I
I'm
love
finding
that.
we can't go wrong with these awards. I mean, there's winners
the best
everywhere
part.
across the board. I do like that.
I like where everyone's brain's going. It's
Let's
great.
keep moving on. JJ, sticking with you. Best group performance. All right, best game by a position group. This is a tough one for me, but go ahead.
Week 12, Colts offensive line against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There it is.
0 sacks, 0 hits allowed against a Buccaneers team that loves to blitz.
Great pull.
And you know who's playing center in that game? Wesley French.
Wow.
And not only did Wesley French get the protections right, get the mic calls right, because you're going to have to do a lot of work to keep your quarterback upright against a defense that blitzes as much as the Buccaneers. But they took on Vita Vea in that game, who, for my money, is one of probably the 3 best run-stuffing defensive tackles
He's
in
pretty
the NFL.
quiet. He's pretty quiet.
Yeah. JT and Zach Moss in that game combined for 25 carries for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Boom.
That and it wasn't just the interior; it was the entire offensive line rising to the challenge in that game, winning the Colts a big game at that point.
With
in
Wesley
the season.
French filling in for a Pro Bowl center, and that happens. Yeah, good call on that. Great award giving it to the group. Elo,
I
what
feel
do you
like I
got?
need to diversify a little bit because I've got a lot of these that are all falling under the same game, and
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just kind of
I
started
do- I
going
did
in
the
on
same
that.
thing. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
I did the same thing.
So there are certainly more arguments to be made, but I think I just started to fixate on the Baltimore game, and one of those to me was the defense and the pass rush containing Lamar Jackson in that game. 4 sacks for 24 yards. loss of 24 yards on that game. No passing touchdowns were allowed in that game. I just thought that was such an effective day by your defensive front up against, a guy who is, one of the front runners for NFL MVP.
See, I thought about the linebackers for that game. I thought about Z and EJ in that game, where Z gets a sack. EJ has a number of big TFLs. He gets the pass breakup at the end of the game that I know people in Baltimore are probably like, it was interference. Wasn't called. That's fine. But those two guys in that game, to me, were
Not
a
to
huge
mention
difference.
Juju Brents having, the forced fumble in that game as well. Like, that was his first game. That was his debut, NFL debut, and was able to do that. But, yeah, I kind of looked at that. I thought there were so many different areas that you could look to. But in particular, I just thought that your effectiveness on Lamar was such a great indication of the potential for your defense and how disruptive that they can be, and to the tune of obviously breaking the franchise sack record before the end.
And we ticked off the Ravens because they went on a pretty good run after that loss, and we saw what happened to them. But great awards there. I'm going to say I'm going to that second Tennessee game. We had 6 sacks. I don't know. I can't give them all to the defensive line, the edge guys, whatever like that. I want to give it to the group, but I'm just saying we needed that win, that overtime win. Minshew, we had Alec Pierce over the top. We had Pittman, obviously, but the 6 sacks came into play, obviously so big for that. So that was my sort
I was also thinking about the front against the Steelers in Week 15. I think that was, 4, maybe it was 6 sacks. It was quite a few sacks, but a lot of pressures. I also thought about Samson Ebukam for best solo performance for that game. He had 7 pressures against the Steelers in Week 15.
Stay with you, JJ. Best play, favorite highlight of the year. What is it? I think we're going to have 3 different ones on this one, too.
So I thought about the Anthony Richardson throw to Alec Pierce against the Rams, because that one's just it's seared in like everyone's brain.
You thought about it, but you didn't write it down.
But I didn't go with it because I went with a different play in that game.
Okay.
I went with the 2-point conversion to Zach Moss. I think that was the first one where Donald has pressure like immediately on Anthony, and he escapes it. He feels it. He gets outside the pocket. He buys time going to his left, and he just flips that little pass to Zach Moss in the end zone for the 2-point conversion. That type of ability to create, like we know, like the arm talent and the ability to feel pressure in the pocket, that's all incredible. What he did on that throw to Alec with Aaron Donald wrapping him up, just a phenomenal play.
Love it.
But that 2-point conversion is like, that's what Anthony can do outside of structure. And there's just so much potential both within and outside the structure of this offense.
I haven't thought about that play and that game and that thing for a while. And JJ brings that up, and thank you for that, because we always talk about the greatness of him, but you're absolutely right. The way that he responded, especially with the likes of Aaron Donald on that day. What we have cooking in the next couple of years with this kid's going to be fun. So, Elo, sticking with you, best play, favorite highlight of the year.
Okay, we've already touched on it so much. You talked about Matt Gay at Baltimore, the Pitt catch at Baltimore, where his helmet pops off. He's in coverage, makes the grab over top of 2 defenders. I love that one. But for me, I'm going to roll it all the way back to Week 1. The strip sack, forced fumble recovery, touchdown. DeForest Buckner, strip sack. Oh, my God. And then, Defoe with, like, the full extension, the guys after. I was joking in the locker room with Z, and I asked him, his thoughts when he saw Buck dive for the touchdown. And he said, I always tell Buck, he's the most athletic, like 6'8" dude that I've ever seen to make that kind of a play. And the fact that a lot of guys weren't aware the play was still live. And in Zaire's words, he punched it out because he was just trying to be a bully. Like, he didn't even necessarily know that he was forcing a fumble in that situation. Just that wild turn of events and how you capitalized on that game, and, like, the huge swing that it gave you in that situation, with, Jacksonville was starting to try to get a drive going, and you're trying to disrupt that momentum of Trevor Lawrence, but to see Buck come up with that play, and then, Zaire pop it out, and then just the optics of that DeForest stretch for the pylon much more successfully than Zay Flowers did was just absolutely, I thought, so epic.
Or Mecole Hardman.
All right, Mecole Hardman, that's fine.
Jeffrey, what do you got here?
I have the 4th down play against Tampa when Zaire went in the backfield. And it wasn't a jump pass, but it reminded me of a jump pass quick thing. Obviously, to Mo Alley Cox, first down, kept the chains moving on the 4th down. That, to me, was a play of the year that I biggest play of the year. We ended up scoring on the drive, getting points, but I'm saying, that one, I remember hitting my roof at Lucas Oil Stadium, and did not see that coming. Zaire. So that to me was it.
2 honorable mentions. One, Josh Downs against the Patriots, the diving catch he had.
Yes.
And then Alec Pierce, the second deep ball he caught against the Titans in Nashville.
Awesome. Put it right in
the
the
over the
basket.
shoulder.
Yeah.
Great throw by Gardner.
Oh,
great
man.
route by Alec. Great job to keep that ball secured. And by the way, we talked about this last week. Great job by Alec to not try to stretch for the goal line on that play.
Yeah. Alec playing good DB, playing good mental games as far as not giving the ball up. Playing it. We saw what he did as a defensive back on a potential interception that he,
Yeah, right, yeah.
I want to move on. Here we go, guys. Not one that I'm going to be a part of this year because I don't know which. I'll comment. You'll hear what I'm talking about. Best screenplay, which is overall the best coached game of the year. We can handpick a lot of these. I'm even asking if are losses even eligible for this? I mean, would you think losses, even though you took it on the chin at the end of the day, but you had a hell of it? That's sort
Are
of
you going to say
something.
the Browns game?
I mean, there's,
I
I can't because of Myles Garrett. I was like, hey, Shane, bring one of the Ford pickups in here and block that thing. Put it, whatever you have to do. I can't do that. But I was just saying, even great coach games and losses, those are still on the table.
That Browns defense coming into that game was allowing 200 yards a game, and the Colts got over 400. That was a really well-coached game, especially on the offensive side. And just some bad bounces. The turnovers obviously weren't great. The Myles Garrett of it all wasn't great. But to do what the Colts did against the Browns in that game, they were the first team to do anything against the Browns defense.
In a loss like that. Okay, who we got? What do you like?
We talked about the Baltimore game a lot, but for me, it's the Baltimore game because that year, not only was it Shane Steichen going against John Harbaugh, guy who's been there for 15 years, has won a couple Super Bowls, one Super Bowl, I guess, but that game in those conditions with Gardner Minshew starting, Shane could not have played that better from the top down. And that game told me a lot about the resiliency this team had, where you're just going blow for blow with a Ravens team that at the time we knew was good. I don't think we knew was great, like they turned out to be the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. But that's a tough environment to go into. This team was not, they had no shot to win that game, coming into it by the prognosticators and all that. And to pull out that win where, okay, you know what? We are going to rely on Matt Gay in this game, in this narrow game. And we're going to run it. And, okay, Zach isn't really maybe getting a ton on the ground, but we know we got to run it and run it and run it until we get the right time to call a shot play, and then we call the shot play to Pitt. It works out. Just very well coached and a great plan to go into Baltimore. And also the thing that stuck with me. Remember how Shane forced Harbaugh to call that timeout where he sent the punt unit on and then pulled him off?
The line changed.
Yeah.
The full line change, and then there's just that shot on the sideline of Shane going, like that.
Right.
He's like, I don't remember who he was doing that to on the sideline. I don't think it was Harbaugh. But,
no, it was. He did mention this.
Yeah.
It was somebody who he knew on the opposite sideline. Yes.
But that shot was great. That was the the security, Jordan's security guard winning that game and just going like that.
Yep.
That was awesome. That game is it for me.
And from that game, Larra, I'll give it over to you in a second. From that game, let's not forget Gus Bradley. He blitzed the hell out of Lamar Jackson that game.
That's why I picked that group.
Which we haven't seen, with that many of pressures as far as an actual blitz call.
Yep.
But that game, Gus Bradley tipped the hat on.
I would totally agree. I think the argument could be made for overtime win at Tennessee as one of those best screenplay.
Sure.
But I decided to go with the win over the Steelers. This offense was so depleted due to injury. You lost Pitt in that game. Zach Moss got hurt in that game. You didn't have Jonathan Taylor, the number of guys who stepped up for you and put this team in a position to beat Pittsburgh 30-13. 30-13, a team you hadn't beaten. You hadn't beaten the Steelers in a decade. I mean, it had been forever. And that was, I think at that point, you won 5 out of 6 to move from bottom of the division into playoff contention. So to me, it's not only the performance and the coaching, it's how imperative that win was to keep your playoff hopes alive and, that boost that it gave that team going into that stretch of December. So that's the one I'm going to go to.
Great call. And really quick on that one, what I liked about that game as well is, we were getting waxed by that Steeler team for a lot of years, a lot of games. And that Steeler Nation would come in to our barn and be louder. I'm sorry, Larry. The last 10 years, that fan nation of the Steelers would come in and be louder in our barn.
With their towels.
That didn't happen, though,
No,
that game.
didn't.
That didn't happen. Colts fans showed up. So if you're listening or watching right now, tip of the cap to you. Here we go. Best director. I like this. Best director. Top assistant coach. LO, let's go with you first.
Tony Sperano.
Yeah, I mean,
Tony Sperano.
I'll make some cases for other guys, but you
Go
gotta
right
take
ahead.
Sperano.
I mean, that's really all you have to say. I mean, the leap that this offensive line took this season, the way this team played together, the way this unit was galvanized, even through the rotation of having, guys you lost, having a rookie in Blake Freeland step up to play both tackle positions. You had Ryan Kelly out, a Pro Bowler for a stretch of time, and you had Wesley French stepping in there for him. So I look at that group. Braden Smith, the significance of his injuries this year and the continuous high level that they played to throughout the course of the season. I'm thinking about, my goodness, like the Raiders game and, the effectiveness you were able to have up against a pass rush with Max Crosby in there. So many different situations. That's just one that kind of illustrates it to me. I mean, you were talking about Tampa, and that game as well. But I'm going to go Sperano on the offensive line.
Good
I think
call.
he is the runaway winner for me. You take that trophy, Tony, and you keep on running. It is yours.
Yeah.
Good call.
There-
And
there's-
knock on wood, those five are back next year and rolling.
Yep.
So.
I'll just make a quick case here for an honorable mention. How about Reggie Wayne?
Yeah.
Reggie Wayne went into the combine and started working those guys out. And he comes back and he goes, I think Josh Downs is one of the best receivers here. He's
Really?
the top guy here. And the Colts wind up drafting him. But it's one thing to be the top guy at the combine, and it's another thing to be a very promising rookie like Josh Downs turned out to be.
That's great.
And
That's great.
the foundation that Josh Downs laid this year for year 2, year 3, year 4 is really good. And then also, by the way, getting the production out of Michael Pittman that you got.
Sure.
Where, and the thing that just I keep going back to with Pitt, and I'm going to talk about him for another category later. But Reg's just allowing Pitt to be that kind of physical bully out there. And
The enforcer.
I remember Pitt told me at the start of training camp that Reg put on they were going through the schedule of training camp. And, Reggie's like, okay, we got this, we got pads this day, we got shells this day. Then the Bears come in, so Pitt's going to get in a fight. And it's just like that competitiveness that you don't coach out of him. I think you've seen Michael Pittman really flourish as a player and a person under Reggie Wayne, and that's been really cool to see.
I mean, it's like when you think about the fact that his dad, Pitts, is a Super Bowl winning running back, it's like, oh, that's the mentality, right? Like you're a wide receiver body and a wide receiver skill set with a running back mentality.
Right. Yeah.
Like what more could you want?
called it. That's the way his dad ran. Angry. I'm older than you two, so I know about Michael Pittman Sr. I'm just telling you, this is a guy who wasn't as tall as his son.
Yeah.
His stature was lower. He was built like a brick crap house, and he'd run right through you and do it violently. So, I mean, his son has got the same
kind of like
sort
how you
thing.
see Zach Moss do
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit,
Zach
right?
Moss.
Like doesn't have the breakaway like
Right.
a JT, but he's going to take tacklers with him, drag 3 and 4 bodies downfield for yards after contact.
All right, we're tying it up. Did you you doubled down on Sperano though?
I
That's
doubled down
also-
on Sperano.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to go really quick. We're going to keep moving along. Congratulations to Tricky Dick. Richard Smith is
That's a great call.
Is
That's a
my
great call.
best best director, top assistant coach. And the reason I did is last year he wasn't here. Okay,
He was.
I'm sorry. Last year he was here. He set a record with Zaire Franklin.
Yeah.
And he said to him, I'm going to be back next year. You're going to be back next year. I can make you better, and we'll even set the record even further, which is tough to do. And then I was talking about the reason I'm throwing him in there is because the balance of when Shaq was going through what Shaq
that's
was
a good call.
and plays on the field, and everybody wanting to get, obviously, EJ on that field as much as possible and stuff like that, and gingerly went through. And, it worked out for both parties, you'd like to think, the Colts as well as Shaq, because he went on to a contender and had the run that he did with Philly and stuff like that. So, anyway, Tricky
that's a
Dick.
good
Richard
call.
Smith gets
Good
my record. Okay, here we go. Best supporting actor. This is the non-star, so no JT's going to get this. Best supporting actor, no Pittman. There's Q, there's Ryan Kelly, Buckner, he's Kenny Moore. You can't give it to them.
Yeah.
Can't give it to them. What do you got?
Will Fries.
Oh, he took mine, yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
nice.
let's go.
Good
First
call.
time that's happened
Nice.
here.
He took mine. I gave it to Will Fries, yep.
For the Colts offensive line to be as good as they were this year, they could not have a weak link on it. And, you got improved play out of Bernard Ryman. You got Q playing at an all-pro level. You got Ryan Kelly going back to the Pro Bowl. When Braden Smith was in there, he was playing at a very high level. Obviously, you have, your backups coming in. But out of that starting 5, the biggest question was about Will Fries, a 7th-round pick from 2021, who's stepping in, who played, okay, I think, down the stretch in 2022, and you ran it back there. And Will Fries was a solid NFL guard this year. He was not someone who teams could just be like, who we're going after? That guy, every single play. You couldn't do that against this Colts offensive line, and that wasn't just because of the rise of those other 4 guys, the kind of more, the guys who are more known. Right. It was because Will Fries raised his level of play too.
Right.
And I really do believe offensive lines are a weak link system, that when you have someone in there who an opposing offense or defense believes is beatable, it sometimes doesn't matter what the other 4 guys are doing, because you can isolate, a Myles Garrett, an Aaron Donald, a TJ Watt on those guys and just get after them every single play. And you weren't able to do that with Will Fries. And then there are games you look at, and he had some really good tape this year. So Will Fries, best supporting actor on this team to really bring that O-line together.
Doubling down on that one as well, and didn't miss a start this year.
Yep, he played the second most snaps behind Q on this team.
Larra, who do you got? You got best supporting actor.
Okay, my initially, and I feel like I've kind of already made the case for him earlier, but I think Zach Moss is certainly in that conversation. 5 rushing touchdowns. JT had 7 this season, plus Zach Moss had 2 receiving touchdowns as well. He played in 14 games, just shy of 800 yards, averaged like 4.3 yards per carry. That's certainly where you could go. I feel like I've done a lot of kind of trumping for Zach Moss, though, to this point already. So to counter that, I'm going to say Elbert. E.J. Speed.
Nice. Good call.
Good call. I mean, the significance of his play,
how
the
many
difference
just
he made.
Huge TFLs did he make this year?
And we can't call him a non-star anymore, I don't think.
It's
going to be his last year of eligibility in that.
So, I mean, to step in the shoes of a guy who was a pillar of the franchise, former defensive rookie of the year, an all-pro linebacker in Shaq Leonard with his departure, what EJ has done and continued to just prove why he earned that opportunity with the consistency of his play and being the perfect complement to Zaire Franklin, it was huge. So, yes, I think Zach certainly earns an argument, and I kind of made a case for him already, but I'm going to go EJ Speed is my best supporting actor of 2023, and then predicting he is no longer a supporting actor in 2024.
That's right.
That's a leading man.
The last chance to win that category, and he did it. So this brings us to our last category. So you know what that means? Oh, it's too low. Oh, it's mute. Dadgummit, Gorman. You had it, and then you blew it. That was my awards music. All right, the big one, the best actor. It goes to the MVP. Can I just throw this out there? We talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm going to be quick, and you guys go at it. My MVP, nobody come at me. Don't write at me. You guys don't scream at me. Shane Steichen. I'm just giving it to the head coach, man. I mean, it's easy. It's low-hanging fruit, but my gosh, what he did with this offense, what he did with points on the board, what he did with the mentality of this team. I'll shut up, guys. Shane Steichen, you're my MVP, and I know we got to give it away to a player, so I'll let kind of you guys do that.
So I went with Michael Pittman Jr.
Of course. Good call.
Over the course of the entire season. But the thing that does it for me, and I know a lot of people hold this too, is you look at what happened against the Falcons, where the offense had maybe its worst game of the year, arguably its worst game of the year. And then Pittman comes back, and all of a sudden things snap right back into place. But it's not just the receiving that Pittman does. It's the attitude that he brings. It's that kind of what I talked about of like Pitt's going to get in a fight.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't let anyone push this team around. He's an enforcer out there, but he's also the best receiver on the team. Like Zaire Franklin told me, he told Pitt, like there's no one else like you in the league who's willing to go out and stick his nose in as a run blocker.
How many teams want Michael Pittman Jr. on the roster?
It should be every single one.
I agree. I would agree. There's a fit for him everywhere.
Because he can be that guy who can be a high-volume receiver. Get him the ball. From week 8 on, Michael Pittman Jr. had 69 receptions. That's the second most among wide receivers in the NFL in that span, and he missed 2 games for the bye week and then the game he missed against Atlanta.
In that time, wow.
So he can be a high-volume guy who gets the ball and is a focal point of your offense, while also being a guy who you can run plays to the outside and have him at the point of attack and expect him to win. and make plays. Like you think about what was it against Vegas? Trey Sermon had a run to the outside, and it would have been
someone.
It would have been a 7-8 yard gain, but instead Michael Pittman Jr. is mauling Divine Diablo, a linebacker, and it turns into a 20-plus yard gain.
Right.
Just stuff like that he can do that you trust him to do.
No
That's
arguments.
why he's my team MVP.
No arguments for a Michael Pittman MVP vote. Larra, what do you got?
He was snubbed from the Pro Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
He is not getting snubbed here.
That's right.
44, this is all you. This is Zaire Franklin's award.
Sure.
To me. Second consecutive year that he breaks the franchise tackles record. He's your Walter Payton Man of the Year honoree. When you talk about the guy who was the unifying force, Zaire Franklin's voice is the soundtrack of the 2023 season.
That's a great call. Yeah.
He is the one who rallied this team through so much adversity, week in, week out, and as much as he expects and demands of everyone around him, he sets that bar even higher. He demands even more of himself, and that is the reason that you have seen him talk about going from fighting to just make a spot on the roster, to fighting to be in on every phase of special teams, to then being the best special teams player, to then earning a role playing defense, to then be the best linebacker in this team. It is to me, this team would not be where it finished the season without single-handedly the impact of Zaire Franklin.
Wow, you know what I appreciate about Zaire?
Everything?
You talk about,
Everything
literally
about him?
everything, but you talk about that ascension, something that Bobby Wagner told him before this season. He and Bobby Wagner have become close, is they didn't see you coming last year. They're going to see you coming now. So now last year, that was just number 44. All right, maybe we can kind of go at him a little bit in 2022, and then he starts making some plays. He's breaking up passes intended for Travis Kelce. Teams around the league now get film on him. How are we going to attack him? And he goes out and he has a better year.
Yeah.
That is so impressive to just know that teams are going to attack you differently because they know who you are now, and they know you're a good player. And for him to go out and still perform the way he did, to be that rock in the middle of this defense, just so much respect for that. Because how many times do we see a guy have one spike and then they fall off?
No.
That's not what we saw at Zaire Franklin.
No, and part of it is, I can't tell you guys how many times, Monday is a huge day here because we obviously are kind of debriefing the game before, and then you're starting to turn the page. We're doing all of our planning, and we tape interviews with Shane, we tape the show for the week, do all of that. So Monday, Tuesdays are usually pretty stacked days for us around here, right? Tuesday's also the player day off. I can't tell you how many Tuesdays I'd be back here and it'd be, I don't know, going on 7 o'clock or so. Players day off. Zaire had been out at the Community Tuesday event early. He'd be in meeting with Gus Bradley and Richard Smith on Tuesday nights, still here, still in the building. I'm like, go home, see your kid,
By the way, he didn't do that just this year when the team was good. He did that last year in 2022.
And that's so much of what people don't see that makes Zaire who he is, makes him how valuable he is, not just because of his play on the field, but because of his leadership on and off it. And he has now created the template for when other young players come in this building, whether you're an undrafted guy, whether you're a late round pick, if you want to learn how to find your way onto a roster and get an opportunity, copy and paste. Look at what Z did. Connect yourself to Z's shoulder and be like, tell me what I need to do, and you're going to be successful.
And y'all screwed up. Okay, whoever's voting for the Pro Bowl, you ticked off 44. We saw the post that he did with social media when he says, okay, all right.
Angry 44 should be a nightmare for the rest of the week.
Good luck the rest of you, because an angry 44, you want that Coastal Carolina coach a few years ago in his press conference when he was talking about Zaire Franklin. I want a dog. He goes, I want a dog. Like guys talk about dogs in that locker room. That is Zaire Franklin. Michael Pittman, he's a dog. Those are the guys that Reggie Wayne talks about having in more and more so in this Shane Steichen era of having so many dogs in the locker room. So much to look forward to, and obviously this is fun to handing out awards. I'm going to bounce along really quick. Let's keep it rolling. The award ceremony. We'll be back next year with that. We'll probably be dialed up. I'll get us into some tuxedos.
Well, Larra was talking about that gown.
We'll throw a gown on there maybe for next year's award season. But we got a big game coming up, the Super Bowl, obviously in Vegas. People are starting to go out this way. You both are not going to the game. I just want to know, what are you following on that game? And more importantly, what are you guys eating on that game?
Are you going to make pizza stew again?
No pizza stew. No, I'm actually traveling. I'm going to be flying back from New York, so I'm going to make it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'll probably be watching the first half on the plane and then home for the second half.
Good for
so
you. Okay.
Poorly planned flight on my part. I didn't really think about it. Like, I should have booked the earlier flight, but, we'll make it work.
Who wins this ball game?
I hate to say this because I hate being wrong, so I hate to make a call, but in terms of rooting interest, I want San Francisco.
San Francisco right there. You're calling for him.
I mean, I want to see Kyle Shanahan get one. How could you say no to Patrick Mahomes right now, though? I mean, the guy they come into the playoffs, their receivers can't catch anything. All of a sudden, Marquez Valdez-Scantling's making diving catches to seal the AFC Championship, and it's like, all right,
you can never write him off. Yeah,
right. I guess he's just inevitable. I'm fascinated by how the Chiefs defense, though, attacks that 49ers offense, because the Chiefs have a big weakness, and it's their run defense.
How you stop a McCaffrey.
Right. How do you stop Christian McCaffrey? And you know what? By the way, if this game gets in the hands of Brock Purdy and Brock Purdy lights him up, the discourse about Brock Purdy is going to be
Mr. Irrelevant. Call me irrelevant now.
Well, right. Is he a game manager? Is he good? Is he not good? Is he overrated? Is he a system quarterback? We are going to have a lot of oxygen for that debate.
Also,
who cares?
Here's the thing, too, is here's what I love is look at these two teams. They couldn't be built more differently, right?
Like exactly.
And yet they're both reaching the pinnacle of the sport. Like, I love that, just
San Francisco has pushed a lot of chips in terms of like cash spending.
Right.
Kansas City, not as much. They're not a very high cash spending team. They have Patrick Mahomes, who they got in the first round. The Niners have Brock Purdy, who they got as Mr. Irrelevant. But by the way, for my money, the two best offensive coaches, this is the peak of offensive coaching, is Kyle Shanahan versus Andy Reid. I think there are some other guys who can get in that discussion. But right now, you have Andy Reid, who from my top 5 coach in NFL history, Andy Reid. The way Kyle Shanahan is going, once he gets that first, he's going to get a second, he's going to get a third, and he could be regarded when it's all said and done as one of the 5 best coaches in NFL history.
Also, in terms of storylines, obviously you're talking quarterbacks, right? The Mahomes-Purdy conversation. Could we have envisioned a better tight end battle between Kelsey and Kittle?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Two of
love
the greats.
exactly. And those guys were in Vegas they had them up on stage doing something together, and they were just kind of gushing over one another. And Kelsey's like, no, Kittle is hands down the best. Just the mutual respect that these guys have, and they're such competitors. And, they do the whole tight end you thing in the offseason. They do all of that. I'm loving that storyline, going into it between those two guys. So
it's going to be great. Hey, the storyline I'm following is when Brady was winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl with New England, we're like, no way is anybody going to catch this cat. And all of a sudden he goes to Tampa, and it's like, another one, no one's going to catch this cat. And then, Mahomes.
Here comes Mahomes.
In 6 years
and
doing
he's
stuff.
28?
I know. It's like,
he's
wait
28.
a second. So with a win this week with Mahomes, I mean, he's like right neck and neck almost
He's
with.
got 3
I know.
before. So he and
in
Brady.
6 years. I mean,
he and Brady
ridiculous.
would be equal, right?
But I
With
thought
3 in
we'd
that
never
split,
see anything like Tom Brady, and we certainly have.
Well,
okay.
and also we might, not the same level, but there'll never be another quarterback drafted in the 6th round or whatever to ever be.
Please.
Okay, well, here comes Brock Purdy.
Hello, here we go. Enjoy the game. You guys eat your faces off. It's that time of year to do it. Have some pizza stew for JJ Stankevitz and Larra Overton. This is the official Colts podcast. You can find out all the latest information you want on Colts.com. You guys got some great podcasts coming up regarding the free agents and offseason things that are happening. So anything you want to find out about, go to Colts.com and the Colts Audio Network. Guys, anything before we leave? I got to get out of here a little bit early today. What do you got for me, Larra?
We're all good. Everybody have a safe and fun
You be
Super Bowl
safe in
weekend.
New York. I'm not
Thank
asking what
you.
you're doing, but have fun there.
Quick little trip to visit a good friend of
Excellent.
mine who lives in this city. So
nice.
Just a little Friday to Sunday little venture.
You in Manhattan. I like that. I like that. How about you? You going to Manhattan this weekend?
No.
Okay.
Having about 50 kids over.
Are ya?
Or 50 people to
On
our
Saturday?
house. On Sunday.
Oh, okay.
We do a big Super Bowl party.
How's Dad going to really watch that game statistically like you want to?
Usually I catch the second half.
Is that what it is? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, have fun out there. Be safe out there, more importantly, and all the information that you want is on Colts.com. For Sherry behind the camera, we thank you for your help. For Larra Overton and JJ Stankevitz, I'm Gorman. We'll talk to you next week. Hey, whoever you want to win, I hope they do, but the Chiefs are the call as far as I think this year. Have fun. Enjoy the game. We'll see you next week.